Julia Chatterley spoke last week to Bernard Chan, a Hong Kong businessman and chairman of the Our Hong Kong Foundation, about the way forward. Listen.
Stephen Roach, the former Asia head of Morgan Stanley, said recently, Hong Kong is over. Quote, "You're here. Is Hong Kong over?"
I'm here. I'm an optimist, but it's not quite entirely true, those comments he made. He talked about three main things. He talked about three things. He talks about we've probably been too dependent on China. This is true. I mean, because China has amazing growth in the last 20, 30 years. So Hong Kong benefited from it.
They rode that wave.
Yes. So, of course, now it has a bit of a downturn. So, of course, our stock markets, our sentiments also been affected by them today. Of course, then the other factor is the geopolitical tension between China and the U.S. And truly, that has an impact on Hong Kong as well. But the last comment he made about Hong Kong, and it's factually wrong, about Hong Kong's future as the one country, two system, the separate system from China, ended, and that's just entirely wrong. In fact, President Xi came to Hong Kong in 2022, and he reaffirmed that this separate system from the Chinese will continue, in a way, indefinitely. But he also emphasized on the legal system. The separate system mainly is the totally different separate legal system, different currency from the Chinese the currency. So those will remain intact. So I think he's factually wrong that the so-called two system ended after the draconian law imposed on Hong Kong in 2019.
Okay, so this is the key, and I think you've gone straight to the heart of it. Nobody believes that China's a sort of passive big brother that it was in the past. And the simplification of what is complicated, I think, politics is that the Hong Kong is not separated now in the mainland, whether it's for citizens that I've spoken to here, whether it's business leaders too from around the world. They're lumping them together and assuming that two systems no longer exists. How do you ensure them that the rule of law here, Hong Kong's rule of law, still applies?
Well, first of all, Chinese leaders in Beijing want that system to remain.
Why?
Well, that's the key, because why would they want another city like Shanghai or Shenzhen? They want Hong Kong the special status because this is the gateway for them to the world. So they want the entire different legal system, the currency intact, so it helps them. So the one so-called one country, two system is not just good for Hong Kong, it's actually good for China. So Chinese leaders in the last 2 years have repeatedly reminded us that Hong Kong should stay international. However, we are one country. We are under one country.
So what you're saying
there's
is,
no illusion that we are a separate, autonomous region.
That's important. Okay, that's important. So should we be talking about carving out Hong Kong within China and what it represents?
Well, I think this whole idea of the one country, two system is not easy to understand. Not for the international audience, even for our local Hong Kong people.
For the young people here, I don't think they understand really what that means.
Indeed.
Too. Do they understand China?
Exactly, because we all, including myself, we're all being brought up in Hong Kong. It's an entire different system. But the fact of the matter is, China with 1.3 billion people, 400 million rising middle class, we need to understand, not just Hong Kong, the whole world need to understand the needs of that 400 million rising middle class. But we are not brought up in such a way. So this is a challenge for Hong Kong people, we need, especially our youth, to understand that you may not have to agree with that system, but you need to understand what are the demands and the desire of that rising middle class in China.
What does China ultimately want then from Hong Kong in an ideal situation? What allows Hong Kong to exist in the way that it did before? To your point about whether it was illusion or otherwise, that China's there, but it is that passive big brother, because maybe this is not just a Hong Kong problem, it's a Chinese authority problem too, and how they message what Hong Kong means to them today. Would you agree with that?
Well, I agree.
National security laws are...
Well, national security law, because in 2019, we went way too far.
Yes,
right?
okay, you agree. The pendulum swung way too far.
We challenged the sovereignty of China over Hong Kong, and that's a total no-no. We are part of China. No doubt about that. But doesn't mean that we have to, and China allows Hong Kong to be different, but we are part of China. That's important.
I was talking about the sort of response actually to what happened there being this pendulum has swung too far. Do you agree with that too?
I do agree, and I think we are in a bit of a soul searching today to try to find a new identity for Hong Kong. Partly not just because of the new law, but I think more importantly is, are we still relevant? Are we still remain competitive? So two issues here. And now you look at Shenzhen, our next door neighbor. You know, the Shenzhen that I know when I grew up is entirely very different from today. So yes, they are a competitor, but they also can be very complementary to Hong Kong.
I've spoken to a lot of Hong Kongers here since I've arrived that they go to Shenzhen. And I was sort of looking at the economics, and actually I believe the economy of Shenzhen now is bigger than Hong Kong. That is big competition.
Yes. And because our cost of living is too high,
right.
So things are way more affordable in the mainland. So I think what Hong Kong needs to do, because we have such a good 20, 30 years of good run, we now need to, we are facing a crisis today, but,
yeah.
But Hong Kong have gone through many crises in the past, and we always manage to rebound. And so what needs to do today is that we have to readjust ourselves, and we have to stay relevant and find our new competitive edge. And we do. We were still going to remain as a major aviation hub in the region. And now we have a very new emerged arts and culture hub, right? And together with financial centers. So I think we can still remain very competitive in the region. And the key thing is, how can we continue to serve the Chinese market?
Right.
That's the key, right? With the rising 400 million middle class, their needs are very different. There are some needs that they will get it from onshore in the mainland, but there are needs that they would want to come out offshore.
And young mainlanders are coming here in particular
Absolutely.
too, aren't they? And I think that's an important sort of piece of the jigsaw puzzle that people need to understand. It's a train journey.
Exactly, because they need choices. There are choices that they can get onshore, there are choices they want to get offshore. Not just Hong Kong, but also throughout the region. So the whole region actually benefited from China's economic growth.